What if I told you the first sin in history didn't happen on earth, but in heaven? Before evil had a name, before temptation slithered into a garden, before Adam and Eve ever breathed their first breath, there was only glory. Heaven was flawless. No shadows, no sin, no whispers of rebellion. Every angel burned like fire, shining with the brilliance of the one who made them. Every wing beat sang praise. Every thought, every voice, every breath cried out, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come." Revelation 4 verse 8. Heaven was not chaos. It was order. It was beauty beyond words. And at the very heart of it all, the throne of God blazed like a diamond wrapped in lightning. The seraphim circled it, 6 wings aflame, covering their faces in holy reverence. The cherubim guarded its mysteries, shielding creation's deepest secrets with their thunderous wings. Archangels stood ready, swords of light in hand, messengers of both comfort and judgment. And nearer to humanity, angels walked beside souls, whispering courage, deflecting evil. This was the symphony of heaven, perfect, unbreakable, unstained. But within that perfection, God made one unlike any other. His name was Lucifer, the morning star, the light bringer, and Scripture says of him, "You were the sealed perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone adorned you. You were anointed as a guardian cherub. For so I ordained you. You were on the holy mount of God. You walked among the fiery stones. You were blameless in your ways from the day you were created till wickedness was found in you." Ezekiel 28 verses 12 to 15. Lucifer was not ordinary. He was not one voice among millions. He was a crescendo, the conductor of heaven's choirs, the first to rise at dawn, the first to lead the song of eternity. When Lucifer's voice lifted, it was as if creation itself sang. The other angels followed his lead. His presence commanded awe, not by force, but by beauty. He was God's masterpiece. The Bible says he was adorned with precious stones: sardius, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, turquoise, emerald. Every gem burned upon him like fire woven into flesh. Lucifer didn't just reflect light. He was light, the first rays of dawn, the bright star before morning broke. Even Michael, heaven's great warrior, admired him. Even Gabriel, the messenger of mysteries, respected him. He was the angel everyone looked to, the one who seemed untouchable, the one who had it all. And God delighted in him. Yes, God delighted. Lucifer was the first angel sculpted by the Creator's own hand. He was not an accident. He was art, and God called him good. But perfection is dangerous, because perfection can forget its source. The prophet Ezekiel records the truth. Your heart became proud on account of your beauty, and you corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. Ezekiel 28 verse 17. The very things that made Lucifer glorious became a snare. At first, it was only a spark, a fleeting thought, a question whispered inside his own heart. What if my light is my own? What if I shine, not as a reflection, but as a source? No one else noticed, not at first. To Gabriel, he was still brother. To Michael, still noble. To the heavenly choirs, still their leader. But inside him, pride was germinating, like a seed in fertile soil. Invisible, but alive. Heaven had no chains. Every angel had free will. They were not robots programmed for praise. They were sons of glory, free to love or free to turn away. And Lucifer began to turn. One day, Gabriel approached him. The archangel's eyes were kind but searching. "Brother," Gabriel said softly, "your light grows restless. What burden weighs upon you?" Lucifer's gaze flickered. For a moment, a storm crossed his face. But then came a smile, too cold to be real. "There are things even we cannot understand, dear Gabriel." The words sounded harmless, but Gabriel's heart sank. Something was wrong. Lucifer pulled away, avoiding his brother's eyes. From that day forward, the choir master sang less. His voice, once the fountain of worship, fell silent in gatherings. His eyes wandered, not with awe, but with something darker. A cherub asked him once, "Lucifer, do you no longer find joy in singing?" Lucifer's smile was thin. "I have found other pursuits. Perhaps there is something beyond what we've known." The answer chilled the cherub's spirit. For the first time, heaven felt distance. For the first time, harmony trembled. And then, God called him, not in wrath, not in thunder, but in love. "Lucifer, my son, seal perfection. I sense your thoughts straying from me. Seeds are growing in your heart that will separate you from the eternal." Lucifer bowed, radiant still yet restless. "Father, did you not create me to understand, to question, to explore? Do you call this wrong?" God's voice was deep, like a river that had no end. "Your desire to understand is not wrong, but your gaze has shifted inward. The light I place in you is not your own. It is mine, reflected through you." Lucifer's eyes lowered, but pride gnawed him inside. Did God not trust him? Why so many warnings? He bowed, but the distance between them widened. Days passed. God called him again. "Lucifer, your light is turning to shadow. There is still time. If you return, your splendor will bloom anew." But this time, Lucifer's silence was louder than words. He turned away. God's patience was endless, but heaven could feel it. A test was near. And one day, God spoke, his voice thundering through eternity. A great revelation approaches. When it comes, the winds will shake the heavens. Every heart will be tested, even yours, my son. Lucifer's body trembled, but his voice was steady. "Father, whatever the test may be, I desire to obey. My heart still burns with your love." And it was true, partly, but deep within, another voice whispered, "Am I not the brightest? Am I not the first? Am I not worthy of more?" And so God delayed the revelation, giving Lucifer time to return, time to choose humility. But each day, his pride grew stronger. Each day, he looked at himself more than he looked at God. Lucifer's story foreshadows another. Adam and Eve in the garden. They had everything. Yet the serpent whispered, "You will be like God." Genesis 3 verse 5. That same whisper had been born first in Lucifer's heart. You will be like God. Pride opened the door. Pride always opens the door. And for the first time in eternity, heaven knew shadow. But what was a revelation that shook the heavens? The announcement that turned admiration into rebellion and the brightest angel into the darkest enemy. We'll uncover the moment Lucifer said the one word that echoed like thunder in paradise. No. The heavens gathered. Every angel summoned. From the smallest guardian to the seraphim burning before the throne. The air was electric. Something was coming. For ages, God had hinted at it. A mystery hidden in his heart. Now the time had arrived. A hush fell, and then the voice of the Almighty shook eternity. "I will create universe." The firmament rippled with light. Galaxies burst into vision. Planets spun like jewels. Oceans shimmered on newborn worlds. And then, Earth. God's voice thundered again. "On that world, I will make beings in my image and likeness, flesh and spirit, dust and breath. They will be called humans." The angels gasped. It was unheard of. Heaven's perfection mirrored immortal clay, light wrapped in dust, but God wasn't finished. And more, the second person of the Trinity, my Son, will become flesh. He will walk among them. He will be called Jesus Christ. And in that human form, you shall worship me. Heaven froze. It was unthinkable. The eternal in flesh? For a moment, no one moved. Then the worship erupted. Angels fell to their knees. Seraphim burned brighter. Cherubim raised their wings. They cried out, "Glory, glory to the God who stoops low to lift his creation high." The mystery was staggering. Infinite love, choosing fragile humanity. The Word becoming flesh. But one remained still. One figure, radiant beyond them all, refused to bend. Lucifer, his eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched. Worship flesh, he thought. Bow before clay? His beauty was unmatched. His wisdom unequaled. He had walked among fiery stones. He had been first among angels, and now God would bypass him. To become one of them, bitterness coiled around his heart like a serpent. He saw the vision of the cross, Christ crucified, beaten, humiliated. To Lucifer, it was madness. Finite creatures, weak mortals, and God will die for them. The thought burned like acid. And beneath that rage, a darker question slithered in. Why not me? Why had God not chosen him for the hypostatic union? Why had he, the brightest star, been passed over? That question poisoned everything. The assembly continued. Angels bowed one by one. Their voices shook the cosmos. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. But Lucifer stood still, rigid, unyielding. His silence roared louder than thunder. And then he spoke. One word, quiet, but it struck heaven like lightning. No. The host trembled. Gasps spread like wildfire. God looked at him with eyes of infinite sorrow. But Lucifer was unmoved. He lifted his chin higher and said it again. No. This time, louder, defiant, a word like judgment itself. He turned to the angels. His voice was fire and ice, calm yet burning. Do you not see? This is humiliation. We are beings of light. Why should we bend our knees to clay? Why should pure spirits bow before flesh? The crowd stirred. His words cut deep. They sounded logical. Is this glory? No, this is a mistake. God asks the unacceptable. He lowers himself and demands we follow. Shall the eternal worship the perishable? Some angels trembled. Doubt crept in like a shadow. Lucifer's eyes swept the crowd. He raised his arms like a king addressing his court. We were made higher. We were made for greatness. If God chooses to lower himself, we must not lower ourselves with him. Brothers, why bow when you were born to shine? And with every word more angels faltered. Then a voice, small but thunderous, who was like God. It rang like a sword through the air. It pierced every doubt. The voice belonged to Michael, the small archangel, lesser in rank, but mighty in faith. Who is like God? He shouted again. Not Lucifer, not me, not any of us. There is only one. The angels shuddered. The word stripped Lucifer's argument bare. Pride cannot stand before truth. Lucifer's face twisted. Anger flared. Humiliation cut him deeper than any blade. But Michael did not waver. His humility was his weapon, and heaven remembered. Lucifer's fury grew, but so did his following. Not the weak, not the simple, the brightest, the most beautiful, the wisest. They gathered around him in secret councils, and he whispered to them, "We are the future. We are the true light. If God will not give us our place, we will take it." The army of rebellion was forming, not in darkness yet, but in brilliance corrupted. Their light burned but twisted, stars turning into weapons, and heaven trembled. One last time, God called him, "Lucifer, my son, there is still time. Return to me. Your splendor can be restored. Do not let pride consume you." For a flicker, the morning star hesitated, but pride roared louder. "Father," Lucifer replied, "I was your masterpiece, the seal of perfection, and yet you choose flesh over me. Why?" God's sorrow was infinite, but his voice was steady. Because love lowers itself. Pride destroys. My son will become flesh to save them. That is glory, Lucifer, not what you seek. Lucifer's face hardened. His silence was his answer. The choice was made. The gathering storm. From that day, heaven was divided. Angels whispered in corridors of light. Some loyal, some wavering, some already turned. Lucifer stood before his followers and declared, "We are the light that refuses to kneel. If God asks the impossible, then God has failed. We will not submit. We will rise." And they believed him because he was still beautiful, still wise, still persuasive. But his light was now shadow, and his brilliance was poison. Heaven had been paradise, but now paradise would taste war. The first battle in history was about to erupt. Brother against brother, light against shadow. and the universe itself would hold its breath. The war breaks out. The line was drawn. Loyalty or rebellion, humility or pride, love or ambition. Lucifer's voice thundered, "We will rise. We will not bow." And from his ranks, a third of heaven's angels cried with him. The greatest lights of creation now turned into a storm of defiance. Across the courts of eternity, wings spread, swords of fire unsheathed, and silence broke into war. The clash was like thunder ripping the cosmos. Heaven itself trembled. Revelation records it. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. Revelation 12 verses 7 to 8. At the front of the loyal host stood Michael, small in rank, but mighty in faith. He lifted his sword high, flames reflecting in his eyes, and shouted, "Who is like God?" It was not a boast. It was not a taunt. It was truth, and heaven rallied behind him. Lucifer, the morning star, spread his wings of brilliance, now cloaked in shadow. His voice roared with venom. "I was first. I am the light. I will ascend to the throne." And the two forces collided. Light against twisted light, faith against pride, worship against rebellion. Every strike split the heavens with flashes like shooting stars. Every cry echoed across the cosmos. Lucifer fought with fury. His army burned with corrupted splendor. They were powerful, more radiant than any stars. But power is not enough when truth is absent. Strength collapses when its foundation is pride. Michael's host fought not for glory, but for God. Their strength was love. Their weapon was obedience. Their shield was faith. And love cannot be defeated. With every strike, the rebels weakened. Lucifer's words rang hollow. His brilliance dimmed. His rage turned desperate. Finally, Michael raised a sword. His voice roared, "By God's power, fall Lucifer." And heaven shook. Lightning split the skies. The rebels shrieked. And then they fell. A third of heaven cast out. Stars plummeting from the sky. Angels, once glorious, hurled into the abyss. Jesus himself testified, "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." Luke 10 verse 18. Lucifer, the morning star, became Satan, the adversary. The light bringer became the prince of darkness. The masterpiece became the destroyer. Heaven sighed in silence. The wound was deep, the scar eternal, but peace had been restored. Banished, but not destroyed. Separated from God's light, Satan's heart turned to hatred. If he could not reign in heaven, he would corrupt earth. He turned his gaze toward the new creation, toward humanity. If I cannot ascend to God's throne, he thought, I will drag his children into the pit with me. And so his mission began, not to rule, but to ruin, not to build, but to break. The enemy of heaven became the enemy of mankind. The story is familiar, but its roots reach back to heaven. The serpent slithered through the garden, cunning and silent. He found Eve alone. Did God really say? He whispered, Genesis 3 verse 1. Doubt, always the first weapon. Eve hesitated. Satan pressed deeper. You will not surely die. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God. Genesis 3 verses 4 to 5. The same lie that destroyed him. You will be like God. And they fell. Humanity's innocence shattered. Paradise lost. What Satan had done in heaven, he now repeated on earth. Pride, rebellion, fall. But Satan's hatred didn't stop with Eden. He appeared again in Job's story, standing before God's throne. Does Job fear God for nothing? He sneered. Job 1 verse 9. He accused the righteous. He sought permission to destroy. And Job lost everything, family, wealth, health. But Job's faith endured. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Job 13 verse 15. Satan failed. Again, his rebellion could wound, but it could not conquer true faith. The desert was his boldest attempt. After 40 days of fasting, Jesus stood hungry, and Satan came. If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread. Throw yourself down, the angels will catch you. Bow to me, and I will give you the kingdoms of the world. Each temptation struck at the heart of pride, but Jesus stood firm. It is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Matthew 4 verse 10. And Satan fled. The war that began in heaven now played out in the wilderness. And once again, love triumphed. But Satan's story doesn't end in Eden, Job, or the desert. It stretches to the final book. John saw it in vision. That ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. Revelation 12 verse 9. The dragon, the beast, the false prophet, counterfeit kingdoms rising, deception spread like fire, evil reaching its zenith. He is described as the accuser, the deceiver, the devourer, but his fate is already written. Revelation 20 declares it plainly. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of burning sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet had been thrown. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever. Revelation 20 verse 10. The war ends where it began, not in heaven, not in Eden, but in eternity. Satan, who once stood before God's throne, will never rise again. The accuser silenced, the dragon slain, the rebellion erased, and heaven will be whole once more. Lucifer's story is not just history. It is prophecy. It is warning. It is hope. He fell because of pride. He tempts us with pride still. But Michael's cry remains the answer. Who is like God? Not Lucifer. Not us. Not anyone. Only God. And that truth will stand when every shadow falls. Lucifer's rebellion began in heaven, but its echoes reach into every temptation you face. His time is short. His defeat is sealed. And the cry of Michael still resounds. Who is like God? If you want to uncover the 5 prophecies that reveal Satan's last moves before his final defeat, click the video on screen, because this war isn't over yet.